All right, today's guest on the weekly real estate show, we have Trevor today. And Trevor is a real estate investor with a lot of experience in real estate lending, short-term rentals, long-term investing, management. Welcome to the show, Trevor.
Thanks, Fernando. Happy to be here, man.
My pleasure. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Trevor.
Yeah, well, as you alluded to, so I got into lending, was kind of my foray into real estate. I got into it in 2018, and 4 years into it, I first of all noticed I was pretty finance minded before getting into it. I'd studied finance in school, and I had owned a very different type of business beforehand, before getting into lending. And I just noticed something that they don't teach you in any school. I mean, even going to study finance, how incredible an investment real estate is, right? Just being a lender and having that finance mind, how much you can leverage it. It can cash flow, wow, it appreciates, right? And the depreciation, but all the things, right? All the things that we know now as kind of real estate people. I just noticed that. So after a couple years, right, like I desperately wanted to start investing in real estate using the loan programs I was familiar with. Of course, you need 2 years of income. So like right when I hit that 2-year mark, I bought my first short-term rental, single family short-term rental. And then from there, that kind of, I picked up another one. I'm starting helping friends do it. I had to start a management company just to handle the day-to-day of all the turnovers that constantly happen, repair and maintenance, management, things like that. And, now I'm at the point where my short-term rentals are affording me to not have to do loans anymore. And I'm just, and the management company is now pretty much operating more or less seamlessly in the background. I don't have to be there too much for it other than helping it grow, bringing in sales. So I'm just out and about looking for more and new opportunities to invest in short-term rentals.
That's awesome, man. And we're going to get all into that as we go on with our discussion right now. But I want to start with when you first got into real estate. I believe you got into real estate about 4 or 5 years ago. Tell us a little about that story.
Yeah. So, I mean, it started with lending, really. I didn't have too much interest in being in real estate so much other than being in the lending space. I had a friend doing it. I was working at a nightclub when I was, I was running a gym that I owned as a lease-based gym. It didn't make a lot of money. It paid for itself, paid me next to nothing. And so I was working at a nightclub on the side, and I was going to school studying business. I was in the process of starting this gym. I realized I don't know much about business, right? So I'm working in this nightclub. Part of going to business school taught me that I was in the wrong business, that, going to the gym is like a passion I have, but owning one was not. So once I finished school, I just walked away from it, gave all my clientele away. I had a partner in the gym, so I just kind of I just pushed everything to him. I just didn't want to be involved in it anymore. And so I'm just working at this nightclub, kind of twiddling my thumbs, looking for the next thing I'm going to do. And I had this friend that also worked in the nightclub, and I knew he was a loan officer. And so at the nightclub one night, we're working in the sections that are next to each other. The club just opened, and I'm just looking over at him. I go stand next to him. We start chatting, and I'm just asking him, like, what's your day like, as a loan officer? And, he's like, well, I show up to the office around 10 if I go in, and I usually just check my fantasy sports and ESPN, and then I might work on a loan, and then I go home, usually around 2. And then
hey, talk about an ideal work day, right?
Right. And then he's like, making like $2,000 a month, right? Doing nothing, being lazy. Because I mean, I love him to death. He's still a very good friend of mine, but he's also kind of lazy. And so I just thought, man, maybe that's the opportunity. That sounds kind of like, what if I go hard? What if I work really hard at it? How much would I make? I understood the product pretty well. Like, just studying finance, I understood what a loan was. And I thought I could explain it to people really well and sell it because it was a product that I believed in, right? Like home ownership at that point was definitely something I believed in. I owned a home. So I got my license. And then sometime later, after it took me a couple months or whatever, I went and worked at the brokerage that he was at, which is 100% production based. They don't provide you with anything but a broker processors to send your files to underwriting. And about 30 days into it, I decided, yep, this is it. I'm gonna give this everything I got. I shut down everything else I was doing, which at that point was really just a nightclub. So I quit that, and that was it, man. That was how it started.
Dude, that's a great story. So you took about a month, kind of as a sort of a temporary period to figure out if this was something that you wanted to do. And after a month, you're out there trying to figure things out yourself. how long did it take you till you felt like you got the hang of it, or you were going to be successful being a lender?
Yeah, so the first 6 months were honestly pretty rough, maybe even like
Mm-hmm.
first 7 or 8 months, because I was doing all the things that I knew you had to do, right? Get out there and
Mm-hmm.
prospect. I was buying Zillow leads, which
Mm-hmm.
I should have waited until I understood how to sell the product before I bought those leads. But anyways, um, when things really took off, I think after the first 7 or 8 months, I had done like 2 loans.
Okay.
So I was actually getting a little anxious.
Yeah.
And then I just started. Niching down, right? The riches
Mm-hmm.
are in the niches. And
Absolutely.
so I'm a veteran. I had a VA loan. And I, up to this point, I had kind of like, it'd been in the back of my head to like, I should probably speak to veterans, but I really hadn't, probably because I just was having some sort of imposter syndrome or something. But I finally decided to start doing it. Actually came across this Facebook marketer who I fell down his sales funnel, and he was like, I'll help you get more loans, man. We need to take advantage of you being a veteran. And I was like, all right. So he pushed out a video for me, paid ads, and like the business just started streaming in. I'm getting leads left and right. Because I just got on my phone and it was basically, in a nutshell, like, I'm a veteran. I have the VA loan. I'm a loan officer. I understand it well. Let me help you utilize your VA loan. And that's when my business really started to take off. I started getting a lot of leads, converting them, closing them. My reputation started to spread around town locally that I was the VA loan guy. So real estate agents would just like call me out of the blue because they were referred to me. They had a client that was VA, right? So, and then that just spread into other, loan products, conventional FHA, right? Like, you did so great helping my client with that VA loan. I have one that needs help on their conventional loan, right? And it just kind of spread like wildfire from there. And then of course, 2020 hit, and now I'm a little over a year in the game, right? I had a full calendar year under my belt. Business was flowing pretty good. To start the year, I had about 10 deals in play. And, mid-March, the economy shuts down because of COVID. And that killed,
I remember that day.
Yeah, man. That killed about half my loans at the time. And in fact, one of them was yours and mine. There's a client that we were working with on, and he got laid off, and no telling when he's going back. So like, underwriters are, of course, they have very rigid rules, and one of them is like, if you're not working, we can't count your income. So
exactly. How are you pay your mortgage?
Exactly. So that was a pretty tough blow. I was feeling a little down. I was like, got into this space, things are going great, and then this thing completely out of my control happens. So me and my wife just actually rented. She got laid off too from her job at the time. So we rented a van. Everything at that point, it was kind of cheap, by the way, because everyone was just staying at home. So we rented a van and just drove around for a week. Just got the hell out of town. Slept in the van. Went to a couple cool places. Shot up to San Francisco, over into Utah. Just drove in like this huge big circle for like a week.
Yeah.
And when I got back, rates going down. And they just kept going down and going down and going down. And then refinance business is coming in, and then purchase business. Everyone's trying to buy a home, and the rest is history, right? Of 2020. And that's when my business really blew up. And actually, that's also what got me into buying short-term rentals, because with this incredible loan product that I had access to as a loan officer, that's the direction I decided to go. Is buy single-family short-term rentals with this loan product that, at the end of 2020, I had a couple years under my belt being a loan officer. And so it just all kind of came together just like that.
Yeah, I remember that you closed on that first short-term rental at the end of December. But let's talk a little bit more about the loan career that you had, which was kind of short-lived, but it led you to where you are today. Soon after 2020, you had started a team. You started hiring some of your friends and got that going. What led you to want to create a team and manage a team?
Couple things. I needed help because I was very busy and kind of always scrambling, right? When business is a good problem to have, so to speak, being really busy. But I just kind of wanted to help spread the workload. I also have some friends that, a lot of people became loan officers when the business got really good. And so my friends would hit me up, ask me questions. And there was a couple in particular who I really liked and I thought would do well. So just like, come on in the office, see what I do. And if it's something you want to do, man, I'll help you. And that there was a within just a few months, a couple of my friends did just that. They came in and they got their license, and so they just showed up to the office every day and just started working in the business with me. And then I hired an assistant as well to just help with the processing of the loans. Right, once I brought the pre-qualified client in and all the docs, and I just kind of wanted something to help manage the flow into underwriting and chasing down documents, just to help with that. So it kind of, I guess that team and whatnot just started pretty organically. I didn't really have plans to build the team I did. But, you know, those friends of mine are still in the business, doing pretty good. I mean, the environment is different now, but they're still doing it. And the only reason that the team kind of isn't together anymore is because I decided I didn't want to do loans anymore. We were going for a couple of years, and it's pretty cool. You're working with your friends, right? You show up to the office every day with your friends. There's no boss there. It's just you and your friends, and you're all hungry to make money. And so we just got to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about that period between when you bought your first short-term rental at the end of 2020 to the time that you decided to basically give up on lending and go all in with what you're doing today, which is real estate investing, real estate property management. Let's talk about that time period. How are you managing trying to grow your lending business at the same time get your investing business off the ground? What was that time like?
That was a struggle. It's the reason that I left lending, to be honest. My loan business was still pretty busy. I didn't really find a way to not be busy. I went from being busy dealing with clients' loans to being busy dealing with my junior loan officers' problems, and you know, kind of training them. So it didn't go well, to be honest. Like getting into investing. I mean, I kept buying my own short-term rentals, but I really wanted to help others buy them and manage them. I was trying to be loan officer for people who wanted to invest in short-term rentals, but it's very tough to focus on that like I needed to, so to speak, and convert that type of clientele. So I think it was a mix of not really having the time I needed to work on that new direction I wanted to take the business. And I mean, the way I'm doing it now is very different than that. And probably the way that I should have been doing it at the time anyways. But with it was tough to get loans through, man, because of the volume, because of all the volume going on, right? It's just a ton of fires I had to put out. And I think it's just kind of like, that's what a high pressure sales job is like anyways.
Absolutely.
Apparently, you know, there's no residual income in loans. Like you're constantly hunting and killing and cleaning and eating, and then you got to go back and hunting again. And so just with that going on, it was very difficult to get into, you know, real estate's like a get rich slow thing, right? And so just the business models didn't jive, right? Like when you're going into investing in real estate, I think you got to take your time, do your analysis, and when you're talking about it, you know, so it was just not a good mix.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about that exact day. I know you went to a seminar. It was a short-term rental seminar. I believe it was sometime last summer. That exact day that I spoke to you on the phone, I think you had to come back from the seminar and you made that decision. What was like the main leading factor that you said, hey, this is not what I want to do anymore. This is what I want to do, even though there's a risk financially that I'm taking, right? I have this business that's bringing me X amount per month. Yes, I have to go hunt it and kill it every single month, but I know what to do. This other business, there's more risk, but there's also more potential of reward. Let's talk about that decision, how that all came about.
Yeah, I was at a conference later in 21, right? Getting
Last
the years mixed up. Yeah, you're right. It was last year. So I was at a conference last year in 22, about halfway through 22, and it was for short-term rentals. It was something that a partner in the management business had discovered. He's like, let's go to this. Let's check it out. Cool. So we went. It sounded like be a fun trip, and it really inspired me. I saw what some real heavy hitters were doing in the space. I saw that my company was doing a lot of what they were doing. And then the nuances and additional things that we weren't, we kind of picked that up right away. And then I saw some people there were syndicating short-term rentals, which is what I wanted to do. So I mean, I actually took this one guy there to lunch to just kind of ask him how he did it. And he had not anywhere near the experience in real estate in general that I had had. And I just realized like the only thing stopping me is me,
Absolutely.
and that's what I wanted, and that's what I wanted to do. So I made the decision there that I'm done with lending. I'm going to close out the loans that I'm dealing with now, and I'm just done. I'm not going to do it anymore. And so I got back, I told everyone that's what I'm doing. And honestly, within 30, 45 days after that, I have not originated a loan since. And actually, it's January right now, right?
Yeah.
I didn't take any of the licensure requirements last year. So I don't even have licenses anymore. I burnt the shit.
You burned the boats, right?
I did. Yeah.
Burn the boats. Sometimes you got to burn the boats and not give yourself an opportunity to go back to what you were doing. Like you mentioned, you were doing well at it, but what you're doing now is more along the lines of what you want to do long term. Let's talk about this recent trip that you took. You recently took a trip across the country. I believe it's a 3-week long trip. You went to various markets, various states. Walk us through the trip. First of all, walk us how you made the decision of how to pick what states and what cities to visit, and then walk us basically through everywhere you visited. What are your thoughts? What's your process? And what are your recommendations for these various markets that you explored?
Sure. Yeah. So I started kind of with no loans to do and whatnot. I started just researching. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to research. So what I was looking for in particular, obviously with higher rates and concerns about recession, I just started looking for recession-resistant real estate opportunities.
Okay.
And to start doing that, I just looked at home price indexes, which goes back 100 years. They're maintained by a few different resources. The S&P has their own home price index. Fannie Mae has a home price index, FHFA, the Federal Housing Finance Administration. And if you're not familiar with what an index is, you can probably just Google it real quick, but it's a very simple measure of home prices. And it creates a line graph. And so what you notice if you really start looking is there, if you look at a place like California, right, 2000, prices are going up like a hockey stick almost leading into 2006, and then they plateau and then just kind of dive down and then work their way back up over time, right? That was really bad in places like all of California, Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas, Nevada. But then there were other places that if you look at the line graph, it literally goes in, it's going, normal pace. And then maybe it like blips a little bit and flatlines, but then right back up, or it's completely unnoticeable, right? There was just, for all practical purposes, not a real estate recession in a lot of locales throughout the country. And predominantly where I saw those was in Texas.
Okay.
And the Midwest in general, but Texas in particular had most of the counties that just didn't experience a real estate recession, or it was incredibly mild.
And were these the major metros in Texas, or some of these smaller markets in Texas?
Both. Major metros, small markets. I'll be honest, mostly small markets, but the metros as well did pretty well. Yeah. Incidentally, North Dakota probably performed the best, but it's I think the markets are just so small there that they also have some volatility in other times where like no one else is experiencing volatility in real estate markets. So in Texas, both big and small markets just were very smoothly operating, just steady increase in home price, regardless of what's going on in the rest of the national. So that's really what led me there. It also has really good hospitality GDP metrics. If you look at, Census Bureau or Bureau of Economic Analysis has a lot of data on GDP down to the industry level. So I was really looking at hospitality too, because I'm interested in short-term rentals, which is a hospitality play that requires the use of real estate. It's both. It's both real estate and hospitality. So I also found a lot of hospitality GDP performance, both during and outside of recession in Texas. All signs are just pointing to Texas. If you want to get into the weeds of like the regulatory environment in Texas and why that leads to the economy that it has, we could. But long story short, Texas is very friendly to property owners in particular, and just the economy in general is very free, if you will, very free market oriented. So yeah, that's what I decided. I want to go check all these places out that I was finding through my research. Just go get on the ground and look at the neighborhoods and just try to get a feel for what about these places makes it perform so well, even compared to the rest of Texas. Why here in Texas? And I looked in a little bit in Oklahoma and in Tennessee. I went to the Ozarks as well because I saw some similar things going on in those places. And that was basically, so that my trip went down into Texas, up into Oklahoma, over to Tennessee, boop, shot up to Ozarks, and then back to the west side of the country, and just digging around, looking in the cities.
What's interesting about that is, so I'm based here in Silicon Valley, which is one of the most expensive areas in the entire country. I just watched a video last night on YouTube. It's called Sidebean, the YouTube channel, and the video title was "Silicon Valley is a Dystopia," right? And essentially, what they were saying, according to some study or metric or whatnot, San Jose is the third most expensive city to live in the entire world. He mentioned, I think Oslo and Zurich are the only two more expensive areas or cities to live in San Jose. And he goes, it doesn't feel like the third most expensive city in the entire country. What I'm trying to get at is around here where I live and work, it's very difficult to invest in real estate. But a lot of people I speak to, both real estate agents or lenders or people that are not in the real estate industry but want to invest in real estate, just don't know how to invest out of state or out of market. As I've gone to some of these seminars, as I've met various people who've done it, they've obviously explained their process and how it's done. But the fact that you've gone out, you've personally looked at these different markets, walked around, saw what's around there, obviously did all the data, the numerical stuff too as well. How much of a benefit do you think that's going to give you with regards to what markets that you can suggest to your potential investor clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm glad I took the trip, to be honest, because I learned a lot of reasons why those places are performing so well, and also found a lot of hidden gems along the way. So that's the main thing. I on the management side of things, I'm involved in the sales aspect a bit. I'm building a sales team there, but I still am currently. I take some calls. I kind of like them, and I'm running into a lot of people that also bought short-term rentals during kind of a short boom, if you will. The industry has grown quite a bit just in the last couple of years, even. And so I run into a lot of people that just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They think it's easy. You just slap the house up on Airbnb. They didn't do any market research. They don't even really understand why people are coming to the place that they bought the house, or what's so good about the place. So all of that, right? Like, the more you know about the locale that you're operating in and what people are actually, what they want in a house, right? Short-term rentals are performing well. What do they have with amenities, right? Not the same amenities don't perform the same in every locale. Some places a pool is a must. Some places a pool doesn't really matter, right? So some places you want to put as many bodies into the house as possible because people are coming there for conferences. Everyone needs their own bed to sleep on in the house. They just want to cut across. Other places, it's more just one family or a couple of families. You need to be more family oriented, individuals oriented. So just the fact that I spent all day learning those things, looking into these markets and figuring out what works and what doesn't, what works best, where are the best returns at. For all those reasons and more, it often, most people, especially if you're a high producing earner, right? I got this W-2 job. You don't have the time to do what I'm doing, and your money is going to perform a lot better passively with me than if you try to do it yourself.
Absolutely. So this past weekend here at the office, or where I'm at here in San Jose, we hosted a seminar. It was a virtual seminar by Rod Cleef. He's a multifamily real estate investor, real estate guru, trainer, teacher. And they did talk about that. Syndications, being an LP, which is a limited partner in some of these syndications, and basically growing your wealth passively within about 5 years. You can get all of your money back and then double that and whatnot. It all depends, of course, on the deal. Sometimes people got cashed out a lot earlier because the operators got such a great blind offer. I can't remember what they called it, right? But it was basically an unsolicited offer. Basically, 2 years in, 3 years in, we saw one that was 13 months in, and again, going back to what we're discussing, right? If you're someone that you want to do something with your money, why not trust it to experts that are already investing in real estate, whether it is apartments, whether it is short-term rentals or long-term rentals, whatever you feel comfortable and whatever, you feel can really grow your money in that span of time. Let's talk about these different markets that you visited. Let's go one by one. Let's mention each city and then just tell me one good thing you liked about that city or about that area.
Sure. So the first destination, the first target was New Braunfels, Texas.
And where's
Wanted to
that
figure out what's
located?
going on.
I have no
It's
clue.
right in between San Antonio and Austin.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So what's cool about New Braunfels is that there's two rivers that run through it.
Mhm.
They meet in it, and before they join, they're very kind of sleepy rivers. They are shallow, so people go down there just to float down these rivers. It's just full of tubes. People floating down the river in the summertime. It keeps the city cooler than San Antonio and Austin, right? So people and those are two very large metros, right? So people just flock there during the summer. There's a lot of concerts that happen there, music festivals. There's breweries. There's 4 or 5 breweries operating in the town, and so it's a tourist mecca for Texas, for Texas metros, big Texas metropolitan cities go there, and that is true in any economy as far as I can tell. Large part of what attracted me there. Real estate prices have historically not been volatile. They've grown slowly and steady, and so the prices are really affordable there compared to what you can get for rent. As far as the rent you can get, so I'm talking, you can be all in on a house $400-500 with financing, of course, too involved, and its top line revenue is $150K as a short term rental, which is something that's hard to find in general. But I've been seeing those opportunities a lot there. So from there, I jumped over to College Station. One thing about New Braunfels, there's literally like 5 there's like 5 water parks there. Probably my favorite place, man. Happened to be the first spot. Mm-hmm. So just a town built for tourism, and it performs all the time. From there, I went to Broken Bow, Oklahoma. Very different place, very cool place in the woods. It's the type of place where they actually have builders there that are specializing in building short-term rentals.
Really?
And like 4 master bedroom homes tucked away in the woods, right? You got to pay to play a lot more there. It's at least, if you want a high performer, it's about $1 million. But it can probably do over 200,000 top line revenue, 250, 300 if it's the right house. So there's a lot of demand for luxury housing there as a short-term rental tucked away in the quiet wilderness. And there's a lot of outdoor stuff to do there. There's lakes, rivers, very popular destination for Texans and Oklahomans to go to when they want to just get in the middle of nowhere. So very peaceful, very relaxing, definitely good real estate opportunities there. More opportunity in value add, I would say, right? Finding a rundown house and fixing it up, which is true of pretty much any type of real estate investment if you got the connection to pull that off. From there, I went to Nashville, but in particular, I was interested in south of Nashville, and it's gorgeous there. There's the event venue business south of Nashville is killing it.
Nashville's really a fun town.
Nashville's awesome. Nashville itself, I wouldn't buy a short-term rental in the city of Nashville. Lots of reasons, mostly regulatory risk. But in just south of Nashville, within 30-45 minutes of downtown Nashville, are a lot of properties that are producing income in 3 ways, which is really cool. So you got wedding venue, right? So you got these, kind of small ranches, 10, 20 acres that, with a barn and a very nice house, it's a wedding venue, right? So you got people that are making money just offering event space. But at the same time, they're short-term renting it in between events. And at the same time, they're raising beef or they have a vineyard, right? Because the weather is very conducive to raising just about anything there. So it would take a long time to set that up, right? You'd have to be passionate about that one piece of property and just building it up into that type of business. But it's one of the few places where that opportunity exists, where you can get those, 3 streams of income from one property. And the ones that are doing it right are making buku bucks off that type of project.
And were you in Franklin when you were there or around
I did
Franklin?
pass. I did check out Franklin and
Okay.
Brentwood. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, very very beautiful places.
Yeah.
Maybe some opportunity there to short term rent. But like the biggest opportunity that I saw was just a house in the country with a little bit
Hmm.
of land. Like you can
Okay.
turn that into something real special there. So from there we popped over to the Ozarks to check that out. I actually just I as I'm doing my research, I actually came across a
Hmm.
property that I wanted to check out for myself, and maybe put an offer. I didn't. I'm glad I showed up and checked it out and got some more inside detail about the property and the money it was making. It was an existing short term rental. But the Ozarks itself, I think, represents some good opportunity. It's very seasonal,
Hmm.
unfortunately, and I generally don't like seasonalities. Why I stay kind of south, um, where the rents just come in year round. But that place has some pretty good real estate prices on the water. And if you got the right house, you're set up right, you can make really good money there. And it's just a cool spot. It reminds me a lot of Lake Havasu, where I'm already invested, but just a much bigger version of it. So I feel good about operating in there. So that pretty much ended the exploration part. I did stop in Santa Fe, New Mexico, just because I had some friends there that just bought a short term
Hmm.
rental. So I wanted to check it out. And in all honesty, I wish they had consulted me first, but it was a nice house nonetheless. I wish them the best of luck. There's for sure opportunity.
It happens all the
Um,
time in real estate.
yeah.
So let's talk about so I mean that was the trip that you took. That was a tour you went through to these various different states. Let's talk about any other markets in 2023 that people should keep an eye on, should be aware of, or should look into possibly investing, whether it's short term or long term.
Midwest in general tends to have the best prices, especially if you're looking for long term.
Hmm.
As far as short term rentals go, Florida, I think there's some opportunity there. Wisconsin Dells is a really cool place. Really good opportunity there that I'm seeing, especially if you're looking for, Florida has a lot of risks,
Hmm.
weather, prices, volatility.
Humidity.
But up, yeah, I mean, your house could get blown down and the real estate prices could
Yeah, for
crash
sure.
there. Up in Wisconsin, that doesn't seem real estate's pretty stable. Prices are still really affordable and rents are good, right? Which kind of, I don't know if you noticed a trend here. That's kind of what I look for. Stability in real
Absolutely.
estate prices, good prices currently, and good rents currently. Um, kind of off, this might be out there, but I look at all types of opportunities, right? I don't like to just
Mhm.
be blind to other types of real estate. So in the commercial space,
Okay.
I see a really big opportunity there nationwide coming up just because of rates. And in commercial real estate, bridge loans are super common. And so there's a lot of bridge loans that were originated in 21 that are coming due. And they're not going to be able to refinance, will not be able to, because
Mhm.
with where rates are at now,
Mhm.
their property will not DSCR. I think for this entire year and next year, there's going to be a ton of opportunities in commercial real estate for basically what's going to be a fire sale. Like they can't refinance because of rates. The bridge loan is due and they just have to offload the property. That's the only option. Someone else has got to come in and buy it. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity there all over the country.
So for commercial real estate, what's going to be your approach? Are you going to try to pursue it as a general partner? Are you trying to create a syndication, invest in some of these syndications as an LP? What's your approach with commercial real estate?
Yeah, I see that coming.
Hmm.
What I will do in particular about it is probably about as far as I taken it is right now. Just let people know, people that I know that are in that space. If I ever see an opportunity, if I did get involved at all beyond just watching it, it would be as either an LP or a co-GP. I think
Okay.
I could, provide value in those ways, but I've not done a commercial real estate deal myself, so I wouldn't
Hmm.
pull my investors along through that unless I had a very, a partner with a proven track record. So if I got into it at all, I might later in the year. I don't know, but I still see a ton of opportunity in short term rentals, and I know the space well. So that's definitely where I'm focusing. Just as far as where opportunity is, I see it there. I see there's good opportunity in commercial this year.
Got it. Okay. Let's talk about more. Let's talk a little bit more about short-term rentals. I know that's the topic of expertise. That's what you focus on mostly. That's where you're trying to grow. That's where you're really trying to be an expert in that particular niche. Someone right now is just getting started with real estate investing. Do you think that they should pursue a short-term rental first, or should they start with something long-term, kind of figure out how things work, and then move on to short-term rentals? Or what's your approach if someone's just wanting to get involved?
It starts with how they want to be involved, I think, right? Like
Mhm.
if you it depends on your job, really, is what it comes down to. Do
Yeah.
you have the
How
time to
busy are
manage
you?
real estate? Yeah, if you
Yeah.
don't have the time to manage real estate,
Mhm.
then you should probably just be looking for a partner, right? That you can invest in or alongside. Either it's a syndicator or maybe even a joint venture or family member, right?
Mhm.
But either way, look for someone that you jive with, that invests in something that you jive with, right? Like there's opportunity in all types of real estate, so I think it just comes down to evaluating what type of risk you're willing to take, and what you would feel good about too. There's just that, and then finding the right operator, someone that you can trust
Mhm.
with your money, is my suggestion in most cases. If you have the money to invest in real estate and you don't have the time, which most people with money don't have the time. If you do have the time, shoot. I mean, I guess all I could do is tell you my journey. I mean, I looked at long-term rents and just did not see any returns anywhere.
Yeah.
And I still really don't, unless you're talking about multifamily. And then sure, you can always
Mhm.
find a multifamily deal. Um, if you want to get involved in short-term rentals, at least talk to a well-experienced property manager. Again, I see a lot of opportunity there, and it's really cool to own a house that you can also like
Mhm.
use to go on vacation, and then you're paid to own it. Like that's a super cool thing. Just make sure you don't dive into it head first without talking to someone that really understands the business in general and the market that you want to get into in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes total sense. If someone wants to learn more about short-term rentals or possibly wants to work with you to help them, figure out where to purchase or to have you manage a property for them, how can they best get a hold of you?
Yeah, you could just DM me at Trevor_actual on Instagram. That's a really good way. Actually, that's the best way. I would just suggest doing that. Just reach out to me on my social handle there on Instagram, and get back to you. We'll start engaging.
Awesome. Hey, Trevor, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate the conversation. I'm sure the people took a lot from this with regards to different markets to explore, short-term rentals, just investing in real estate in 2023 moving forward.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on. This is great.
All right. You're welcome. Take care.
All right, man. You too.